Good day, everyone. Welcome to Wheels Up Live. We're glad to have you here on this June 9th, 2024, where if you've been paying attention to the internet in the last hour, there was some breaking news that we're going to talk a lot about today. But I'm IAD Bound,
Yep. And I'm Felix.
and we're really excited to have you here. And as always, we will start with our news of the week. And our news of the week has been somewhat thrown asunder, perhaps
Yeah,
is maybe that's
a
the
little
way we
bit.
could describe it. Because
And Dulles, just before you get just sorry for not having been a little bit more active in the current weeks. We've just had Dulles and myself have had a lot of life things going on, and so we just want to let you guys know that we are still here. We are obviously we're planning on attending Expo. Well, Dulles is planning on attending Expo. I will be watching all the stuff digitally. But we just wanted to say we haven't gone anywhere. We're still doing this thing. We're still looking to grow it, and we have guests coming up. So again, apologies for not being there, but life does happen. So we'll try to be let you guys know when those things happen. So
right,
back to what you were talking about, Dallas.
yes, and I'll just join in Felix's sentiment there in terms of our
I gotta make
availability,
sure I
and
have
that was
this.
mostly
Okay, good.
me, so I apologize, but you know. It has been a crazy couple of weeks, but I think we're going to be smoothing out along the way here. And then
Yep.
one of the things I'll mention right up front in terms of news of the week, so to speak, is we're 2 weeks out from FS Expo, less than that now. And it's not too late to sign up by any means. And we have a link down below if you're interested. We're media partners, obviously, with FS Expo. Just be clear, there's no remuneration to us. It's just a great event. And if you're going to be there, that's great. Come see me. I'll be there, and maybe on another venture. Felix will join us, perhaps maybe next year. He is a busy man. What I was going to say
Well,
about
right
that
now I'm
is,
busy.
yeah, what I was going to say about FS Expo, just briefly though, actually, is the floor plans came out for the convention floor. So you can see where sort of everyone's been put together and lined up. And I
Yep.
think that you'll be excited about a lot of opportunities to check things out there. I'm going to mention a couple of quick items on that, Felix, actually, which is there's a interesting group of hardware there.
Yes.
So there's a group there. It's called it's Flight Sam. Shoot, I forgot their name. Well, I'll look it up in a minute here. But they are coming out with a new force feedback yoke, and it's currently in a sort of Kickstarter campaign mode. Except they're not using Kickstarter. It looks very interesting. They're coming out with two versions. One is meant to be GA. One's meant to be more of a airliner, just in terms of the force feedback feel on it. But the price point's kind of very interesting, very different than what we've seen before. The standard model is coming in, at least for this Kickstarter piece, at $800, which is way less than some of the other ones I've
Wow.
seen, and
For
they're
force
doing some
feedback,
interesting things.
that's a pretty decent price. That actually
Yeah,
that puts it on my radar as something that I would be willing to pick up. You know.
yeah. I mean, it's certainly interesting to see what folks are up to and what they're doing. Some of the other groups that are going to be there, like Wing Wing's going to be there, and a lot of people are very interested in their A320 series. So perhaps we'll see some stuff there. I'm not sure if they're doing a product announcement or not, but they are going to be there. Thrustmaster's there. They've got a new base for this is kind of behind me there, the Warthog base. They have a new base replacing that, which hopefully has solved the infamous stiction problem. Verpal's there. There's going to be some interesting hardware there to get your hands on and tinker with. So I think that might actually turn out to be quite a highlight of this. One group that's not going to be there, and it's not going to come as any shock, is Honeycomb, because
Yeah, we're gonna.
Honeycomb is in big trouble. I can't
They
even
are.
quite figure out what's going on. It's interesting. I'd like to catch up on this story in a couple of weeks, because back in the end of January and beginning of February, when they made a claims about sort of who was running the company and who was going to do what. And more importantly, for some who pre-ordered that the Charlie rudder pedals would be shipping in
Yeah.
what amounts to about 10 days, I think now, 620, I think they said it was going
Yeah.
to ship. I'll be surprised if anyone sees anything from them, but
Yeah,
you
I
never
would
know.
be. If you've got any sort of honeycomb device, my best advice to you is to start stacking that coffer up for when it eventually fails, so that you can go seamlessly right into a new piece of hardware.
Right,
Um,
right. Or
Obviously,
even,
barring the shipping time, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, or
Mhm.
if you want, you can find an old honeycomb that no
Yep.
one's used, and you've got peripherals for it, like I know you and I do.
Yes.
Something to look at. In
I mean,
terms of
I'm secretly hopium.
hopium,
Hopium is
yes,
Wing. Yeah, secret hopium
yes,
is Wing somehow picks them up because they seem to be cutting this kind of niche, at least, and they have been in the DCS side as well. They're
yeah,
cutting this niche as a really like mid level supplier of hot quality. I know a lot of people who have Wing and they really enjoy that product and they have the really quality. And again, we don't get any remuneration from Wing for saying this. This is just again our opinions.
yeah. We're
But
just
I know a lot of people who do enjoy the Wing stuff, the Wing Orion,
yeah,
and for what it is, I mean, I think you can, if you really want to be a pretend F-18 pilot, you can get the whole setup for like less than $5,000 US. Which, if you really think about that,
hmm
that's pretty cheap. And of course that's expensive relative to like a lot of things, but it's cheap
sure,
if you understand. So anyway,
yeah. No,
that's
I
my little
mean,
soapbox.
but like I say, I think there's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff to touch and feel, and my lights just came
Yeah.
on, and it's very bright. Um, so let's talk about some of the other. Sorry, it's just in my face.
Flashbang.
Right, exactly. I'm blind now, but not to worry. Some of the other news stories of the week, and actually the past couple of weeks. One of the things that Felix and I have been tracking very closely because we're both collector's editions owners is that TFDI is officially in beta with the MD11.
Yes.
And, I know Felix has some really strong sentiments on how things have gone with TFDI, but just as somebody who's maybe stayed a little further away from the plane and has gotten a chance to fly it once or twice since the beta has begun, I think we're now looking at a legitimate product here that's on its way to becoming, I think, what I think we're all hoping will be a very solid release.
Yeah. I just think the MD11's cursed. The real one was cursed. All these add-ons are cursed. PMDG had the DRM nuking where it would delete your texture file if you quote unquote installed incorrect registration key, or God forbid you fat fingered it. Which is that's true story happened to me. I fat fingered it and
Oops.
I had to reinstall everything and it was a pain in the butt. The rotate again, that was another one that was like, whoo, and I'm gonna be honest, having that kind of behind the veil look, I'm seeing a lot of similarities. I'm not saying it's the same thing, and I'm not saying that there isn't a level of concern from TFDI that was kind of absent, right? Like with rotate, it was
Mm.
pretty evident that rotate just went ahead and said, hey, we're going to release it because we want to do what Tullus did, which was they
Right.
released right before Cross the Pond, and they were like the darling, quote unquote, because they released a finished product. They were ready.
Right.
They released a
Right. If I
product that
recall
you could
correctly, that was the
use.
A340, right? The
Yeah, the
A340 release. Yeah.
A340-600, and
Right.
and and everybody loved it. It was kind of the darling of that
It's a
CTP,
good
and
add-on.
it is a good add-on. But
It,
Rotate tried to get in on it, and my whole point is these successive updates that they've had have really, like, there's when they got the feature complete, and then there were a couple updates, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is promising. And then TFDI went out and put another arbitrary deadline, which I think is just, it's completely erroneous. It's not based in any sort of kind of reality. of software development,
Yeah.
and for what it is. And to be quite honest, this last update, not the one we just had, but the 0.59 update, apparently it messed up all the prof, which if you guys don't know, the MD11 has a VNAV mode that's called prof, which is
Right.
basically like a VNAV plus. It's a very
Right. It's a
sophisticated
profile mode.
um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
profile. It's a very, very sophisticated version of like a VNAV. All right, it does a lot more, and so when you have a small thing with prof, you affect so much of the aircraft and how it flies with the autopilot. And so they had this one bug, and it to me, to say within 30 days is just, I just think it's a lot of hopium from them. I'm going to use that term again.
Right. And
It's a lot of hopium. I really do. And here's the thing. I am not critical of them because I don't like them. I'm critical of them because we all want a good MD11. We know that they have the capability to deliver that product. And so far, it just seems like it's stumble after stumble. And it's annoying to see. It's aggravating to see as a customer. So
yeah.
I'm hoping that it goes well for them. I'm hoping they fix everything. I don't want them to fall on their face, but if they release this thing in 30 days, I just don't see any other way other than the community just absolutely, ripping them to shreds, especially at the price point, which is going to be $85. Remember that.
Right. That's
It's
a
not even
big.
$80, it's $85. And I think that's the big part of it. Maybe
Yeah.
if it were 50 or 40, okay, you know what? You get it, you get in on that level, and you're going to watch the add-on improve. Okay. But like for $85 in Microsoft Flight Simulator in the year 2024, it's just not, I don't think it's going to go well. So again, my personal opinion based on what I've seen, I've flown it
Yeah.
several times since then. And so, it's not like I'm just saying this. I flew it once. I have flown it a lot. I'm trying to
Yeah.
like this add-on, and I'm just finding, things that are just really, really getting in the way of me enjoying that MD11.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you on a couple of key points there with the TFDI situation. One of them is that the price point puts them in a position where they have to, I believe, come out of the gate at a level that meets and probably exceeds
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, PMDG, Leonardo, right? Because
Yep.
those are the add ons, somewhat of that ilk, that are in the price range.
Yes.
Any builds doesn't really charge quite that much, and it's a little bit different, so I'm not putting them in there. I think TFDI is trying very hard to get the product into that position. I think the 30 days from, beta start was basically mean the beginning of July.
Yep.
That's a big ask. And
Yeah.
they got Expo in between there, and they're going. So, I
Yep.
mean, unless they're just going to sit there in their booth and code, I don't know where they're going to be. I also agree with you that criticism of TFDI, from my perspective, is twofold. One is it has nothing to do with them being nice guys. I've met that team. They're very nice guys. You would all like these people. They love the product. That's great. But the two critical elements really there are bad, communications that are iffy. Communications have been a struggle for them. They're not the only ones who struggle with communications, but it's self-evident that that's an area that's a big challenge. And then, as you said, the artificial deadlines. They're
Yep.
just shooting themselves in the foot every day of the week, seemingly. I exaggerate, but it's often. Um,
Yep.
Other news this week, we have a freeware airport coming shortly here for Frankfurt. And I have
Frankfurt.
mispronounced the developer name. So, Felix, who's our developer?
Aviotech.
Aviotech. Thank you. I called them Aviotech. My bad. Because there's no second A in there, as I should have noticed.
Yes.
But they are producing a freeware Frankfurt. And it's interesting. It's supposed to be released June 14th, I believe.
Yep.
I've seen some interesting reactions to it. People who are in the hallelujah mode. We're going to have a Frankfurt that is not a Sobo and they've beaten Aerosoft to the punch and it's free versus this looks like trash and I just assume stick with the Asobo, handcrafted or wait for Aerosoft. I can't really tell. It's some screenshots, but I don't know. My first impression was it doesn't look half bad. So I'm sort of struggling with it, but then perhaps I'm not the keenest eye for that. But I don't know if you've had any reactions from what you've seen.
I mean, I've seen it's not bad. I mean, here's what I'm going to tell you: it's free. So at the end of the day,
Right.
you have to shape
Free.
you need to shape your expectations around the fact that it's free. I think that the community as a whole has gotten really, really spoiled with like things like the Zebo, to a lesser extent, in my opinion, the fly by wire. I think that these things have really and some of the and we have like for instance somebody I know really well, a stable system, who is the founder and pretty much the main guy at $0 Payware, where they make really good sceneries for X Plane that are free, right? Like they're making Heathrow currently and stuff like that. And they made an Anchorage that looks up fantastic. I mean, it looks absolutely good in X Plane 12 and X Plane 11, but I think that we've really gotten into this rut where we're expecting payware quality out of freeware people, and you just can't do that. There's just, unless you want it to take 10,000 years to get it done.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these people have to pay bills, and that's going to be the primary concern, whereas developing this freeware scenery is probably a secondary, or in most cases, a tertiary concern in their life. It's something they're doing, a passion project for the hobby. And so the guy who does this, I think his name is Vittorio. He actually flies real world. He is a pilot. He flies real world. Okay. And so he he has the app. That's going to consume his time,
Sure.
and he gets to this when he can. And so I think we really, for what it is for free, guess what? You know who this airport's great for? People who may fly to Frankfurt 6 times in the sim and never do it again. Right.
Or it could just be great. We'll see.
For.
Yeah, but it could also just be great, and we'll see.
Yeah, it could be good. And so I really think that what's the harm of trying this out if it's free? There's literally zero. There's literally zero loss you're going to get. There's no loss.
Exactly.
So I don't know why people want to rip it. I'm going to wait to pay. Like, just get it. And then if you want to get the Airsoft and it's better, you delete this one, you buy the Airsoft. It's not complicated.
No.
I think there's people a lot make this stuff they won't.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good freeware in X-Plane scenery and in FlightSim.to, and a lot of people enjoy it. Why not this one? I do say the one thing for this developers, I guess, is they do sell sceneries in X-Plane, and perhaps they're trying to use this as a launch platform for Microsoft Flight Simulator to sell sceneries here. So maybe they're trying to make sure that they reach a certain level. But as you say, it's free. And I might point out, we have this discussion. This comes up all the time in our community when we talk about any builds, who we're also going to talk about here in a second, which is that they have projects that they do for Microsoft and Asobo, and they have projects that they do themselves, and they're working to different standards for those projects. And people get all bent out of shape. Well, this isn't this, and the A320 isn't this. It's not as good as the A300, or the A310 isn't as good as the A300, or this. I'm like, whoa, they're doing different things for different people with different expectations under different timelines. And, if you're doing a freeware, it's a different thing. I don't know what else people want to say. And
remember that they're only bound by their contract obligations, which may limit them also to kind of remember that they are going to be an Xbox, right? Anything that you're doing for the default sim, which we literally saw that this was from the Xbox showcase, this announcement for Microsoft 2024. Anything that you're going to do in PC, and you're doing it officially for Sobo and Microsoft, you got to do it for Xbox. And so it's one of those things where, there are certain things that you just cannot do on Xbox. They're just not going to happen. You can't do them. That's why it was held up in the first place, is because it was just so performance intensive that they couldn't get it to work. They had to delay it. And I think that again, we have this like, in my opinion again, there's a lot of unrealistic expectations of developers, especially when it comes to freeware.
Yep.
I think we've been spoiled, and I think that I would love to see people kind of take a step back and say, okay, it's free,
Yep.
and we have to base our judgment off that, not, oh my gosh, it's terrible. It's like, guess what, any builds is going to release a payware A380, and I can guarantee you it's going to be better than fly by wire.
Yeah.
And you know
Most
why?
likely.
Because they have a staff that gets paid to
Right.
do a good job,
And
and
and,
that
and
and that and you're never going to get around that. Never.
and I happen to know that some of those people have been, in the business in one way or another for a very long time. Yes, MJ and some of the other guys are younger, but some of the people they have there have been doing this a long time. I'm not sure where they've all come from, but it's self-evident that they've got some long-term pros. Okay, speaking of indie builds, they are going to be releasing Nairobi Airport coming soon for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Yeah, again, I have to say, now this, of course, this is an airport I don't know that much about, but just looking at the little detail here that they put up, you can tell right away it's another highly detailed any builds project.
Yep.
And I'm just looking at
Yeah.
these
So
little
this will be
gates
good
here.
for this will be good, obviously, for any Kenya Airways enjoyers. Obviously, Nairobi being the capital of
Sure.
Kenya and that sort of thing. It's also going to be good for anybody who enjoys any sort of air cargo out of Europe, because that's a huge destination for air cargo. It's a huge
Right.
stopping point for a lot of air cargo ops, specifically Martin Air, that are going on to Joburg.
Yep.
And so, for me, somebody, I would totally pay for this airport. I love that Africa as a whole is going to get represented in the sim more.
Yeah.
I pray that any builds uses this. I hope they get the sales to launch maybe an OR Tambo, which is the airport out of Joburg, and they do a
Yeah.
Cape Town, and they
Right.
do
Now
more
there are
airports in
payware for those
Africa.
two, but they're relatively
Mhm.
old. I'll add
Yeah,
to this
and
on this
so
one. They have modeled the cargo area quite a bit. You can see that in some of the other pictures. So it's something that they
yes,
plainly have put a little emphasis on. So I think that's going to be an exciting option coming out. Speaking of
yeah.
airports that are getting close, and I know people are real excited about this one, and why not? Yes, it is Flight Beam
Oh my god.
San Francisco. Yes.
San Francisco, yeah. Oh yeah.
Mir has posted some screenshots for folks to look at just recently. I think this was from June 3rd. And as you can see, you are getting the sort of product that we've come to expect from him, maybe with a
Yes.
bit extra. He's calling it a captain's edition. I think from the screenshots that we've seen, it's looking like a possible next level product, certainly from Flightbeam, and I think just looking at these, maybe outstripping some others, and if the performance is there, we're all going to be real happy with this San Francisco, I think.
Yep. I think that first of all, we finally have an updated layout for this airport, which right there, clear, great picture that shows that
Yep.
off right there, is this terminal right here, Terminal 1. Not the
Mm-hmm.
international wings here, but this terminal that's closest to us, Terminal 1. This has been there for a couple of years. It's just something that wasn't updated in P3D, which what
Right.
I'm not
What are you
going to
going
get.
to
I'm not going to hold that against him.
do?
But
Right.
yeah, it's finally nice that this has been modeled correctly. We have the official update, the layout, and I think it's going to be great. It's shaping up to be another fantastic release for him, and hopefully it leads to better things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very excited about this one. It'll be interesting to see what he picks as a price point for it.
Yeah.
The market's very competitive. I think that we saw just in the intervening weeks that another developer rushed out of San Francisco.
They did.
I personally have not bought that one, but the reviews that I have seen suggest that it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think that there's good reason to do a compare and contrast between
Sure.
that product and the Flightbeam San Francisco when it's
I think,
ready. And as
yeah.
Mir has said, he wants to get it out this month. So I think we're closing in on it. And shockingly, or somewhat shockingly to me, is that we're going to have, looks like we're going to have San Francisco before we're going to have the BMDG 777.
Oh my God,
Huh?
man,
What?
that's a sore, that's a praying point.
Oh,
It's
I mean, I think it goes without saying that we could get people on here worked up like madmen for about 20 days just to scream about it.
yeah,
I think we've all
yeah.
become. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, talk about the PR nightmare. Uh,
Yeah. Right. My head hurts.
One hand, the left hand does not know what the right hand's doing over there. It
Uh,
really is. It's a mess, and so it's good. Here's what I'm gonna say to Dullis's point. We're gonna have San Francisco, huge Asian hub, huge international hub for United,
yep.
who operates the 77W a lot out of here. So this is going to be a really, 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 highly anticipated release. Um, we're closing in on pretty much having almost all of the United hubs in the sim. I know that we're.
Yeah.
I think we have all the Delta hubs. If somebody does a really good Atlanta, cough, any notion. If somebody does a good Atlanta, I think we'd have a really high detail version of all the Delta. I'm trying to think of American. We've got Miami, we've got JFK, and sorry, I'm rattling these off, but no, it's really good
Well,
to
for
see these
Delta,
things coming back.
we do have Atlanta for whatever it's worth. We've got Atlanta, we've got MSP,
Salt Lake,
we got Salt Lake,
Detroit,
Detroit,
LAX,
Los Angeles, yeah,
Seattle,
Seattle.
JFK.
Yeah. I think we're getting the,
Yeah, we don't. Do we have CVG? Do we have
no.
Do we have Cincinnati? No, we don't have Cincinnati.
Oh, you know what? No. We might. That's a good question. Okay, I'm stumped. Let's see. Do we have CVG? Here we go. Because I'm going to resort to the Google machine like everyone else does.
Everyone else.
Somebody's made one. Skyline Simulations has made one.
Don't know who they are. Hopefully, they're doing a great job.
Don't know either. And it looks like Feel There has also made one, which for my money, I will pass. I will pass. But I appreciate that they're trying. They're putting out scenery. It's fine.
I will tell you that I think there is a market for a Feel There if that's an airport you never fly to, or you're going to fly to once and you just don't want default. That's how I feel about sceneries like that.
Yeah. I try. I don't know what I'm going to fly to. So if I put the money in, I'd like to know it's something that I think is a good product or a better than average.
So speaking on that, do you just sit there and say, "Hey, I want to fly an aircraft," and then you what route can I fly? What time is that? Is that how you decide those?
A little bit. Since I do some virtual airline stuff, sometimes I'll work from that. Like, do I want to? Sure. Okay, well here, let me think about that. Maybe an interesting cargo flights, or I want to do British Airways or something. Then I'll sort of work from that. Other times I might just want to see what a route looks like. I might want to test something out. It depends on what I want to do. Because there are times, particularly when I'm getting oriented with a new aircraft, where I'll just pick some routes that are, solid routes to fly them, just to sort of ring them out. Don't worry too much about exactly what the origin destination is. So we're about half hour in, and I think that there is some other minor news of the week, and I think that all of you are probably familiar with this product. Yes, we are going to talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We had planned to talk about GSX, and I'll just mention briefly that GSX 3.0 is out, and you can put passengers in the cabin, and we were going to talk about ground services. But I think events have overtaken us, wouldn't you say, Felix?
Yeah, I would say that I think people would prefer to talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, speculate, versus talking about the beautiful, non-bugged, bug-free add-on from Umberto that is perfect in every way.
Right. And if you have a
This
problem,
release is even just this
right.
release is just making it even better and
Right.
perfect
And if you have a
at this
problem, we
point.
know nothing about it. Don't ask us.
We know nothing.
Uh, with that, I'm going to play this because I think it's going to set it up, and then maybe we're going to work our way through it. Let's go. Hopefully. Come on. Oh, dear. Yeah, well, see, I teched it up, and then I unteched it. Oh, wait. Let me try it this way. Here we go. There we go. Let's see if that does it.
Please stand by for technical.
Exactly. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. We're going to try that again.
There we go. Hey, look, it's an A330. Oh yes, A330. They got the engines running at the gate.
Where else do you want to run it?
Oh, PC-12. Whose PC-12 is this going to be? Okay, this is kind of cool. Sky Banner. This is a lot of people make hours doing this. Believe it or not.
Yeah, around Miami, maybe.
I mean,
It's frowned upon in the D.C. area.
if
And yes, we know
ever
you can
wanna
all
watch
hear
a
us, but
cool-
we're just making jokes now. So stick with us.
If you ever want to watch a cool video, go and watch cherries being dried by an R22. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. in
I will check that
aviation.
out.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, look, it's the AnyBuilds A400 mic. So this is the cool part. I love this helicopter. I like Skytrains. One of my favorite things. Oh, we're gonna take pictures. Look. Oh no, there's a deer. Apparently, Asobo's going for the Cabela's Big Game update. Be able to hunt. Oh my gosh, a floating twatter, by the way. I didn't pick up on that, but that might be the Aerosoft twin otter.
Oh, making a
Again,
reappearance.
speculation. Yeah. This is cool, the hot air balloons. This is kinda
Yeah, and they had mentioned that was something they were going to be doing.
And here's this weather effect, this weird plane. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
What is that? I love aviation, I love planes, and I know a lot of weird stuff. I've never seen that plane.
It's a new one on you. All right, so we've been
Yeah.
talking over this for fun because why not? It's just a good time. All right. So, let's see. What did I do here? I need to get ourselves back on now. Let's turn that off.
5 words
There
you
we
pronounce
go.
wrong.
All right. We
2
don't need
years
that.
before
Look at
your
that. It
brain
keeps going.
starts
It's
shutting
wonderful. Okay. That's YouTube at work for you there when you're live streaming it. So, obviously, we've just seen the new promo here for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And, well, there's a lot to talk about. I'm just
is.
putting this one placeholder up here because Felix kindly got some screenshots, but we don't have them all loaded up just yet. I made some notes on here, but what are your first impressions there?
I think that we're kind of returning to the FSX days where they kind of had like missions and things you could do in the game. It's kind of something that we almost like a career mode is when I feel like this is going to be. Maybe, I don't know. Again, speculation. I think that would be cool. I think it would be cool if you had something to work towards. For years, we've had a lot of third-party versions of this. Not PACX, but what are the two on air and then
There's
they're like Air Hauler. That's the
Air
other one.
Hauler,
There's Air
and
Hauler,
there's A Pilot's Life.
A Pilot's Life, yeah. And
Yep.
and these are kind of like third-party versions where they allow you to kind of have a career. It gives you a little bit more purpose when you're simming.
Yes.
I mean, for me, I'm fine. For me, a lot of what I've simmed is a plane, an approach, maybe a route. I don't need too much, but I think for a lot of simmers, this is going to be kind of welcome. Maybe, and I'm not speculating more so on the kind of, the demographic of the Xbox user, but maybe more so the Xbox user, because they don't have a thing like VATSIM, right? They don't have an online multiplayer
True.
network where they can do this sorts of thing and kind of make it seem realistic. So maybe this will integrate with other things. The thing I'd love to see is the ability to do this stuff while you're on VATSIM, which would give you like really really cool kind of immersive factor. If you're having a call in on certain things, if you're doing like air firefighter, if you're doing air ambulance, stuff like that. So,
Well, obviously, we've just seen a very big push that was previewed in 2023 for this version, that we were going to be mission focused. And they've obviously given us some sense of what some of them are going to be, right? So we've got this agricultural aviation. We've got, let's see here, we've got some search and rescue, right? I didn't get, we didn't clip every one of these.
that's
but we've got
I
search
think
and
this is cool,
rescue.
by the way, too.
Yeah, we have aerial advertising, VIP charters. We mentioned search and rescue. We've got helicopter cargo. We got remote cargo ops. We have aerial firefighting. And we know on the cargo ops, too, we saw previously that they're going to have a beluga, so we know there's going to be some cargo ops with that.
Yeah.
I think we can all assume it's going to be the Any-Builds. In fact, I think they've said that already, that it will be Any-Builds beluga, which they had an X-Plane and evidently are now going to be part of the default sim in 2024. I think one of there were some other, very
just
interesting.
A correction, it's the Beluga XL.
I'm sorry, the Beluga XL. Thank you. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have never had that. Just a small correction there. So
Okay, very good. That's always good to be precise, because I know this. We know our crowd. It's precise. One of the things you can look at just here in the search and rescue that I think is self-evident, that we have some very interesting things going on in terms of what's happening at a lower level with the new sim or the updated sim. You can start with the water here. This screenshot makes it self-evident that they have put a lot of work into the water. We are, look at the waves here. Look at the effect the helicopter's having. Look at the effect that the sinking ship is having. Just even look at the water out to the far side, to the right-hand side of that image, to get a sense of some of the new detail that's in here. Now, it's possible this is mission-specific, but something tells me this is probably something that they're working on at a much more basic level in the sim. And I think you can see some elements of that here too. Take, for example, this shot, which was of the, I guess that's Red Bull Racing. They've had the air race idea in the sim for a little bit. But you can just see some of the terrain features. And look, if you look up in the right-hand corner, look at the detail on the mountain sides, on the cliff edges. That is something that is not currently at that level in the sim. It's not. I think there was a little scene, I could bring it back up in a minute here, but there was a little scene of Yosemite. There was a plane going through Yosemite. El Capitan was on the left. I saw some similar things here. In fact, if we go back to the ag piece, what struck me was, look at the texture at the ground level. Substitute grass instead of wheat or whatever they're flying over here, because I'm not an agricultural expert. But I think we're getting an idea of what they're doing with the foliage, and maybe what we can expect from some of the ground textures and terrain even. The terrain seems pretty darn specific. Similar here. Look at the trees.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't see was a lot of new cloud types in this video.
I think we were all hoping for.
Yeah, and maybe they're going to be in there, but I guess we'll see. The live environment element here, I don't know if this is a radical departure from what we have in the sim today, but I think it's evident perhaps that they're trying to tell you that they're working on things like other traffic in the sim being livery specific, for example,
Sure.
rather than the generic models that they have in the sim today. So, I mean, I saw what looked like improved landscapes, improved textures for the landscapes, improved terrain details. Obviously, they looks like they're adding a camera function because there was that weird shot taking the picture of the deer.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to do something to take more interesting screenshots where you can play with depth of field and it looks more like a traditional camera.
Asobo, if you're listening,
Right. I
anything you
mean,
do with the camera, listen closely. Replay. Replay.
they
Okay.
have
If you
replay.
want a
I mean, they
model,
have it.
no, it
It's
sucks.
amazing.
It sucks. No, it's not.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's not amazing.
No,
But
so if they do anything, if you want to follow anybody's lead on camera, look at what Laminar's doing. I know they don't do everything great. The one thing they did for their sim was they did an excellent job on the cameras. So please, because I do not want to use that what's it called, flight control replay or whatever,
yes,
that you need a PhD to operate. It's just it's not really it's not I don't think it's as user friendly as it could be. And personally, I would hope that the default system gets an improvement.
yeah. Um,
Excuse me.
but we did see. I mean, obviously something's going on with cameras. There were hot air balloons, airships, and we saw a Zeppelin in there at one point around the Statue of the Redeemer, whatever, in Rio. Did you see there was a pointed foliage scene with autumn foliage on a hillside? So I know they've been talking about seasons. It's evident that that's part of what they're doing there. And just looking through that whole collection of stuff. Oh, and in the career mode when they were showing the commercial airline, where it showed an avatar walking towards the plane. I don't know if that's like a controllable avatar or if that's. I don't know why there would be a cut scene. That would be very unlike Microsoft Flight Simulator to have a cut scene. So I'm wondering if they're going to be working on outside avatars. I mean, we've seen people add things to the sim like vehicles. AnyBuilds has got like the Formula One car or something you can drive around. So maybe they're going that way too. And in that scene at the A300, right, where they were down at the chocks level, I think you saw that there was some interesting detail on the tires and some other elements that looked.
Sure.
There was a level of detail that I don't think we've seen necessarily in 2020. One thing I couldn't tell, which might be interesting to know, is have they sort of worked on the extruded ground textures at airports, where it always looks a little cobbled. If you look close, I wonder if they've worked on that element. I guess it's a mesh element. I'm not really sure exactly how it works, but I know a lot of devs have sort of struggled with how to make it look nice and clean, particularly with the line markings. But that was not evident in this bit. But I, for me personally, I'm not quite as fascinated by the missions. But I guess it could, as you say, particularly for Xbox, maybe that's a great way of having a career mode.
Yeah,
So
I think that's just. I think that's what they had. They had something like that. More missions, not career, but in FSX, and I think maybe they're going more towards a replayability. I mean, theoretically, flight sims have some of the most infinite replayability of any kind of. It's really like any simulator has infinite replayability, especially if you're doing something on a global scale because you can do whatever, right? The limitation is just what the sims allowed you to do and what's in the sim. So, for instance, once we get more long haulers in here, your options of where and what and how you're going to fly. I mean, there's so much GA that we didn't have before.
right,
We're going to get biz jets. We're going to get all sorts of. I mean, this simulator and community or for anything are just going to continue to grow and grow and grow.
yeah. I'd like to sort of go back through it a little tiny bit. So, as we were looking here, see, this is what I was talking about though with the terrain.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that they've plainly been working on some some serious detail here. And I don't know how this is done. If this is, I mean, just in the foreground with the bushes, it's a little hard to tell. But just looking at the little mounds and mountains and the little sand dune pieces around the base of the rocks there, I mean, this is definitely a step up from 2020. And it strikes me. Okay, this is just nauseating. It's too much twisting and turning for me. But again, I think that same effect, next generation, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
See, this is what I was talking about here. Like, is this an avatar mode, do you think?
I couldn't tell you. I did want to let's talk about this. Okay, so this is an A330, right? This isn't a Beluga, which is different, and we confirmed that. So there's kind of a speculation as to whose A330 this is now. Given that there's already talks and they already have a contract, my guess would be that it's 100% an any build's default A330. Or maybe it's one of those things where it's a Sobo, but it's like the ATR where you pay like what, $20 or whatever, and you maybe it's a little higher detail. They showed a shot of the EFB. I think if you go in, there's a shot of the electronic flight bag. Again,
right. One thing, just before we jump into that though, and it's interesting how they've got the covers on and the removed before flight, which is somewhat unusual for an A330. I don't think you'd be doing that.
An A330 that's if you're going to keep it overnight, you probably would slap some covers on there.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest thing with this was United at JFK.
Okay.
I think that was the most hilarious thing.
If that was their worst crime. One thing I was going to mention here before I'm going to try to get to that EFB shot here in just a second. Notice they've got passengers loading. And interesting because, let's face it, that's a GSX hallmark.
Speaking of
GSX in their 3.0 update that just came out the other day has finally got the long-awaited seats, passengers sitting in the plane, which they claim shouldn't have too much of an FPS impact. They showed this last year at Expo, and I guess they finally rolled it out. I was just trying to test it a little bit earlier. I saw them get on the plane. I saw them get into the row, but then I saw them disappear. So I may have been doing something wrong, but I was trying to do with Phoenix and the Edelweiss. But the flight attendants were wearing the Edelweiss outfits, and they have improved some of the loading sounds. I mean, they still have a lot of the ones that you recognize from
I'm right next
GSX.
To her. Thank you.
Yeah, some of them are the same, but some of the background noises particularly are the same, but there are some new voices in there, which I think is nice for a change. One of the big criticisms, actually, I saw that GSX, which I have to agree with, is that for all of the different flight attendants that they're hyping, all the different nationalities, all the different airlines, what do they all have in common? They're all women.
Yeah.
There are no male flight attendants. It's a little weird. Okay. Here we go. Here's the EFB.
I was going to say, here's your EFB.
Well, here's an EFB. It looks NE-esque. Well, actually, no. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not sure. What do you make of that one?
We're speculating. I think it's any builds. It just makes sense. They're making the Beluga. It's an A330 derivative.
Let's see. Wait.
Why would so?
I'm gonna look at this a little bit bigger.
Why would they make contracts with, let's say, Aerosoft, who are the only other people we know making one, and any builds who they're already in contract with?
Yeah,
I just don't see that.
It would make sense if it were any builds, but who knows? The Aerosoft one could be an interesting question since Aerosoft did say they weren't going to put anything out.
I want somebody to make a high fidelity one. Why can't we just? I don't care about default. I want a high fidelity one. I don't want to wait till 2096 for Flight Sim Labs to do it.
Damn, I was just about to say that. I was literally like 3 letters, FSL. Come on, we're almost here. Aren't we almost here? I have no idea.
We have no idea because they don't say anything. And if you try to comment on any sort of like, can we have an update? No. They act like you just asked to hand over one of their children and lock everything down.
Pretty much.
And it's like, It's like, come on, man. Like, you know who? It's funny. We talk about communication, soapbox about communication. You know who
Yes.
I love communication wise? Bluebird. Bluebird gives an update every once in a while. They sprinkle a little crumb. They never give us a deadline, but they show us that progress is happening with the add-on.
They do.
And Shervin has said, we're hoping to get Shervin on the show. By the way, which is, fingers crossed.
Right.
Yeah, we're hoping to get Shervin on the show from Bluebird. I know he said to talk to him at Expo, so you have some homework to do, young man.
All right, will do.
But
thank you for calling me young man.
But anyway, it's just the communication piece from them. I think it's really nice. You show something, you show progress, but you say, we're going to try to make it to 2024. You give something really, really kind of easy for yourself. You don't say 30 days. And you don't say 2 weeks to 2 months. And of course, those are cheap pop shots at both TFDI and PMDG.
But yes, but there's some. But
I have to moderate in a server where all I see every single day is people. They're not doing this. Oh my god, PMDG's crazy. Oh, they're. I'm like, it gets old.
Lying to us.
Yes, please, flights and devs, learn that when you guys communicate, that reverberates throughout this community like throwing a stone in a lake. All right.
Right.
And so
especially in the PMDG case where their own website notes that it was the most anticipated product of 2024. Well, okay, guys, then pay attention. I understand you missed a deadline, and I don't think anyone's lying to them, but get over it, people. But yes, you and I both moderate in the same server where we hear the same argument or the same crazy discussion.
Groundhog Day. I'm thinking about asking Bill Murray to come and moderate because that's what I feel. I feel like that would be better.
I like him. He'd be fun. Okay, let's see here. So we have this. I don't know what to make really of the pilots in the cockpit.
I mean, I just want to say the thrust is at idle. Actually, it might even be in reverse right now. How they're taking off,
whatever.
I don't know.
It looks like they're taxiing, actually. So that might be okay.
No, not. So watch. Just keep playing. Keep playing.
Well, no, in this shot here, it looked like they were oh, no. Sorry. Well, I'm wrong. Damn. Let's do that again because you're right. I'm wrong, and I hate I never like to admit error.
It's like almost like it's in reverse. Yeah, because look, the reversers are up. They look like they're up. Oh, that's funny.
Well,
again, by the way, obviously the real product's probably not going to be like that. I'm just poking fun because we're here and we're noticing it, right?
Right. So here we have this air ambulance bit. And I'm looking at this. Again, this looks like we might be in the Outback somewhere.
You gotta be.
Could be.
Gotta be.
I can't quite tell for sure.
Well,
although it has an N on the registration. Yeah. So Desert Southwest.
But it's a Land Cruiser.
Right. Well, who knows? These things, it's not a finished product. Let's be clear.
Or not a Land Cruiser, a Defender. I'm sorry. Is that a Discovery?
No, I don't think it's a Defender either. I don't know what that is. But, we have this air ambulance bit. I'm not really sure how, what they're having you do. Are you talking to somebody? I'm sure there's communications. I mean, those are all kind of questions that would be nice to know what they're up to. But again, here, we're looking at some interesting detail. Just, we got the oxygen bottle that you can see here. Someone spent a few minutes on, more than a few minutes on that. Again, looking at the terrain, textures. They look pretty good even for these little previews.
I love this. I love the sky banner. Oh my gosh. I wish we could show this, but when we're done here, go check with the server and check what Scott put up there.
Oh God. Okay. Well, Scott is always good for a chuckle on these things. All right. So the sky is not the limit. I get it. That's their own bit. As I say, I suspect you could do this all day in Miami. Right?
Oh, that's pretty much exactly where that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Miami? Yeah, it does look like Miami.
It's Miami. Yeah. That's the port. That's the
port channel there. Yeah. Well, see, they knew the spot to put this. So that's another mission. I don't know if you make money or what you're doing. The VIP charter could be fun. Which No, help me again. Is it the
Oh, this is the FSX, by the way. We should
right?
point out that
Yes.
is the FX. Excuse me. Sorry for alliteration is hard
Yes.
sometimes for me. The FFX SF50 Cirrus, which is now
Right.
going to be a part of the sim.
Part of the sim.
So
Yeah. And again, I'm looking here. Look at the mountain
yeah,
terrain right below the left wing. I
yes,
mean, that detail is excellent.
I love it, and I love the mist, obviously, which we've had
Yeah.
that before. Look at the detail of these plants here. This looks almost like a vineyard.
Right.
Somewhere
Well,
could
right.
be,
Grain or something that we're looking at there. Here again, we're talking about the water. Look at the
and the
action of the
waves.
water.
Look at the way. Yeah,
Or someone put an air conditioning unit up on top of a building in Los Angeles, it looks like.
yep.
Now, here, this is one of those great mythological elements of Microsoft Flight Simulator is that my photogrammetry never looks this good. I don't know how
Yeah,
they
I
get it
don't
to
know
look
how
this good.
they're. I don't know how they get it to look that good. Because I have to have Sam scene. If I do anything where I want the city to look even remotely correct, I
Right.
have to get a Sam scene for it,
Now,
or of some iteration.
now, in fairness, this is 2024, and maybe they've solved some of those problems.
I hope they would, and
Right.
maybe that's what they're highlighting here. You could absolutely be right. Yeah, it's true.
Right. I mean, it's a definite possibility. One of the things that's really hard in such a short trailer is they have jammed a lot into it, and they're sort of leaving you to guess at some of it. And here again,
There's any builds, A400, I think.
yep,
That's who's doing that.
A400M. And now it's as interesting because we've seen a lot of this detail in the hills. It's maybe slightly less detailed here than in some of the other shots that we've seen. So maybe there's still, some compromises out there. But again, looking at the ocean, looks pretty good.
Dude, that looks amazing. This looks amazing. I don't know
Yes.
where this is, but I want to go there. I
So
want to
what do
fly
we?
that there.
So let's see. So what do we make of this? Signal locations for them. They with the smoke,
Yeah, I mean that would be
so
I
they
don't
can
know who's throwing
identify it.
smoke like that, but yeah, I guess yeah.
Interesting with the palm trees. I mean, this looks a little less organic. Looks a little more game-esque. But again, even the grass
Yeah.
there looks good. This looks
This water
excellent.
effect looks really good.
The
Yeah,
water
that water
effect.
effect looks really, really good.
And I'm looking at the trees behind it. Again, they look terrific. And the cloud effect here is excellent. I think we're getting a little better cloud blending. All right, here's my point I was talking
That
about
looks
in Yosemite.
fantastic. I like that. Yeah.
Right, El Capitan. I mean, and again down at the river level here, it really looks good. And, you can tell the rocks or whatever. There's still a little bit of grass textures that are a little fuzzy here and there. But again, here's more grass. All right, what's
Whose
this?
cub is that?
This
This is a
again, this
camera
looks like
feature,
a
so-
camera,
Yeah, that's a camera for sure.
and it kind of makes sense that.
And that's an 8-point buck. Look at that.
Well, you count fast. Okay. I don't think it's a hunting game, but as you say, but look again. Well, actually, let's back up there for 1 second. When they're taking that picture, look at the foliage just to the left.
Yeah, it's not.
And
It
the
doesn't
tree.
look bad at all for a
Yeah, I
flight
mean-
simulator. By the way, this is what you're judging it on. Okay, you're not judging it on that it's Red Dead Redemption 2. Where where you're going to.
I'll have to trust you on that because I've never played that.
Oh, it's so good. But anyway,
That's another show. We'll get to that one another day.
but no, it's really interesting to see this level of detail down low, and I think they're really trying to cater to the GA.
Yeah, bush pilots.
Experience. Bush pilots, that sort of thing. So
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's certainly an interesting idea. And here, it looks like a hot air balloon sightseeing trip,
oh, here's that stupid air taxi from Airbus.
right? And here we have a Zeppelin, and again, more
That's
foliage
the Twin
pieces.
Otter right there. That is a float. That is a float plane Twin Otter right there.
Interesting.
So that's what I was more commenting on. That I remember that Airsoft pulled. So this is another speculation, right? Like, is that A330 really any builds? Is it not? Is it
Yeah.
Airsoft? Because there's a lot of speculation that Airsoft pulled the Twin Otter from 2020 because it's going to be in 2024. So I don't know
Well,
what a
that would
Skyship
make some
600
sense.
is. That's
I'm
Christ the
looking at this.
Redeemer
So,
right there.
one of the things I'm noticing is that not only does the
Oh, we can
vegetation
tow
look
now.
better.
Oh my
Sorry, what?
god! I was going to say we can tow now. I've never done any
It's
glider
towing a
stuff, so I
glider.
have no
Yeah.
idea. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
if it can we do that now. Is that a thing?
I didn't think you could.
Was it always a thing?
I don't think so.
And so
I'm
if that's
noticing.
true, then there's a really nice.
Right, another nice touch. I'm also noticing that we have a lot more varieties of vegetation. I feel like.
I'm also noticing they're not 7,000 feet tall.
That's very good point. That's also an excellent point. Mountains
Yeah,
look
they're
good back
none of
there.
the
Look at
vegetation
this.
is. Oh, look at it! Where's this? I want to fly
I,
here. Where is this?
that is an excellent
That looks
question.
difficult.
I do not know. Yeah, it looks good. I really like the work they've done with the
Yeah.
water. So they're telling you can fly under bridges. So, all right. So here's
Mhm.
our ode to fall
Yeah.
foliage here. And obviously they've talked a lot about seasons, and I guess we're getting that.
This is cool. I thought this was really really cool with the hot air balloons. I'll never
Yeah,
do it, but I just think it's cool that they're
it
going to do
looks
it.
cool.
And that was
But
a good weather effect again. And
right,
I don't know
but
what's
again
going
with the
on with this
clouds,
aircraft, but
still okay. Yeah, right. This is a little unusual. I don't know what this one is. And the Aurora, which is something I think they've talked about a number of times that they were going to have, which is cool. All
that'd
right.
be cool if you're in your 777 and you're flying near there and you see the aurora at night. That'd be pretty cool. Doing a little
Yeah.
snooze cruise in your 777 in 2029, and you're.
Are you speculating on release dates? I mean,
I
come
am.
on.
I am PMDG. 2 weeks to 2 millennia PMDG.
Exactly. So the other thing that is key here is that it releases November 19th.
Yes.
So for those of you who've been sitting around saying, is this a developer or that developer just waiting for 2024? I highly doubt it. I don't think anyone's putting their projects on the shelf for another 6 months. It just doesn't make any financial sense. And if Asobo and Microsoft are correct that for the most part, whatever works in 2020 is going to work in 2024, I think it's hard to imagine why anyone would be holding up their projects for it. And frankly, if you're a developer right now, why would you? Because not only is it doesn't make any financial sense, but the truth is they haven't given the developers anything yet to work with.
No.
I mean, there's no SDK out or anything like that as far and yeah, will there be? Yes, they were asked about it on Jorg and Seb and Martial were asked about it on the stream the other day. They did say they're going to have assets for some of these folks, and maybe it'll be a little bit earlier than release date. But as a general proposition, I don't think anyone's going to have a big head start. So, all right. Any more? I feel like we've beaten Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 to death for the moment.
Yeah, for the moment. I mean, we've spent 30 some odd minutes on the last 2 minutes or whatever this.
Right. Well,
so I mean,
yeah,
it's highly anticipated, right? I mean, and then that's
exactly.
It's the future of the sim. It's where people are going, and I mean, excuse me. I think the key takeaways are what you said, where the foliage looks improved, the terrain mesh looks improved, possibly the photogrammetry looks improved. We didn't really see anything on the weather other than the lightning and the
right. Last year they did show us tornadoes.
Yeah. Who knows if that's been shelved again? Like, it's nice to show things off. But when the rubber meets the road, we don't know. We didn't really see cloud variation like we were hoping to see.
Yeah.
In the sim, I didn't see a lot of effects either. So I saw the smoke effects, I saw the water effects. I did not see like the rotor downwash effects. I know you showed that water scene.
Yeah,
there weren't really a lot of rotor downwash effects in that scene. With the water, and I don't know the altitude of the helicopter, so I have no idea. Like,
hard to tell.
But I remember that we saw what was that product from Parallel 42 that just came out? It's an effects product.
It's
Is
an
it
effects product,
SimFX?
and
Is that
they've
it?
got that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they have that sort of stuff in there. So it was really interesting to see that sort of stuff wasn't there. But it looks like all in all, we're having a more detailed sim.
yeah,
We're hoping that performance is increased. The thing I'm hoping for, and I know probably every developer is hoping for as well, is some sort of WASM fix. For I don't know what that looks like, but I know WASM has been the plague of the sim since the inception of the sim. Well, at least since it was released. It's what held up the PMDG, I think, because if I remember correctly, the 737-700, they were saying, "Hey, it's going to release in a couple days." They gave the
yeah,
streamer access, and all the
right.
streamers showed off all these like really really interesting bugs, and I think WASM crashing was one of them.
I can't
And they had to
remember.
go and draw back, and they've never really been able to like they've kind of gotten a handle on it. I haven't had one in a bit, but I've had a couple enough to where it's like it's not an anomaly.
Yeah,
It's not just some. And so that's one thing I hope that they're going to fix. And it's just again, it's another sign that they're building the sim and they're going to continue to grow the sim,
right.
and that's only a net benefit for us and for people who we see a lot of these payware um, add-on developers that are making products in the base sim that are going to be better than default, and that's always good. So
Yeah, and you mentioned a couple things in there. I'll just mention. I think have come up on the weather. Okay, so one of the questions that's asked a million times is weather API and whether there might be one for
yeah,
2024. I don't know if they're ever going to have a weather API, but York did say he's well aware that people want more weather access for developers. It comes up all the time on their top list of requests, and they are mindful of it. As he said, it's. I think he said it's mostly a them problem in terms of what their setup is with Meteo Blue and how things work. However, uh, I think someone correctly asked a more nuanced question in the chat with the developer stream the other day, which was, well, what about just enhancing the capabilities of the radar that you have now so that some of these devs who want a weather radar are getting a weather radar that they really want, like Tilt, for example, because that would keep that could keep them out of the weather API business if they just
yeah,
have a hook to use use a more robust built-in weather system like a lot of the developers are using now, the working title implementation. So that's something maybe we'll see something like that. The Wasm thing you mentioned, I wonder about that too. There was questions about the GDK, the game development kit that they withdrew, um, which was going to be part of SU15, but there's Xbox problems with it. So I mean, you know that there's stuff they're working on in the background that are pushing their way towards 2024 and not 2020. So we'll just see what happens with that. The other thing we don't know is what pricing is going to be like. I
yeah.
would think that the pricing is going to be identical. The question is, will there be an upgrade path? I have no idea. Interesting question. Are you going to buy it anyway? Probably, but
Yeah.
I could see that maybe they'd have an upgrade path. I don't know. We'll see what
I hope I
happens with
wouldn't have
that.
to pay as much for premium this go around as I would for.
Right.
I would
Right.
be okay with paying the standard price for premium if it
Yeah.
got me premium access in 2024 versus
Right. Re-upping for
yeah,
the whole thing. Yeah. No, I'm with you
yeah,
on
because
that
I
one.
don't have it currently. I have standard, so like I can't do any of the working title or the Horizon or any of that, or at least whatever ones are 787 dependent. I can't do those.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I have to admit, I
yeah.
really don't fly the 787. I have access to it,
Um,
but there's a lot of mods for it. There's the Kuro and the this and the that, but I really
and
don't
that's more
fly.
of what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, I really don't fly any of those. I'm a little bit like a friend of ours who is kind of like, I don't want to bother with freeware, and I don't literally say that. There's freeware I use, including the default 172, which is fine. But it's just I don't know. Doesn't appeal to me as much. I
With
feel like
scenery, I'm fine with freeware. For me,
right.
when it comes to planes, which is kind of the whole emphasis of those are the actors of the sim, if you will.
Yeah,
I want a little bit more, and a lot of freeware just falls short. And so,
exactly.
personal prerogative. I'm not against anybody who does use freeware. I know there are myriad
No,
reasons why you might choose that path versus having to pay $70-$80. I'm blessed enough that I don't have to, make that choice.
right.
I can pay for the freeware, and or that I can
Pay for
pay
the
for the
payware.
payware.
Yes,
Excuse me.
right.
Yes, and so it's one of those things that's I get it, but it's just not my cup of tea, and I'm gonna go for quality um,
Sure,
every time, and
but
so generally that requires that you're gonna have to float some costs. So
yes, I will add one thing though. The enduring popularity of free add-ons to the sim, whether through FlightSim.to or through the auspices of Microsoft and Asobo themselves, in terms of enhancement that they have put into the sim, including new planes, and most recently the AnyBuilds A320 update to the default A320. They mentioned in the developer stream that it's been downloaded 500,000 times already. So it just, there are a lot of people who are using this sim who are going to take advantage of every free option that's out there and are thrilled to get those kinds of options. And I'm not saying I'm not thrilled. I think it's cool. It looks nice. And I think they've done a perfectly reasonable job. But, at some point there's just a differential between freeware and payware, but that's just how it goes. But as we could see, they got more planes coming, more things they're including, and hats off to them. They really are pushing to put things in the sim without charging you more, and I appreciate that effort on Asobo's part and Microsoft, and I think they really do care about this product. I think it's probably been a big success for them, as we know, and yes, it came in the 50th minute of a 1 hour presentation from our friends at Microsoft and Xbox. And it was only a 2 minute and 30-second trailer or whatever. But we have a lot to look forward to.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. As always, we're, as Felix mentioned at the outset, we're working on more guests, and we have Expo coming up, and hopefully I can talk some people to coming on. And I think it's going to be a very interesting next 6 months in the flight sim community, as if the first half of the year wasn't already crazy. But between 2024 coming out, the 777, the MD-11, maybe the A350, I mean, there's a lot going on. So
maybe the 757.
Maybe the 757. That's right. So as always, if you enjoyed this sort of banter, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up.
Give it a thumbs up.
Yep, and thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us, and have a good time.